Okay, are we ready?
Yes, we're ready. Are you kidding? We were
ready.
born ready, you guys. We've been talking for like
We're
35 minutes.
Yes.
And now we're finally ready
And
to talk to you.
are here for you. Okay, well, welcome back to another podcast. We are so excited to be with you. My name is Jessica Hover. My friends call me Jess, and this is...
I'm Layne Sherland, and this is Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club.
I'm showing you my sweatshirt that I'm wearing.
So cute. I still need to get one of those.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, but wait for the Christmas drop. Or like, not a Christmas drop. It's a holiday drop. You know, like Black Friday sales. Yeah. It's going to be really cute.
Is it so cute? Do you have new designs coming?
We have new designs coming, and they are amazing. And I accidentally told some of the moms, I'll tell you off the camera, and they were like really thrilled. So I feel that this is going to do well. Okay. And it's all going to be pre-order because it's just safer that way. Otherwise, I have to front the money, buy the stuff, hope it sells.
Retail.
'Tis not the season for me fronting the money. So anyway, okay, we were telling really funny stories.
We were telling really funny stories. We could retell them to you. We could jump right in. What do you guys think?
Just let us know.
Just some real-time feedback about how you'd like this to unfold. The other day, Jess posted a story about how Jules sometimes tells her siblings that they're not friends anymore when she's upset.
And tells me that as well.
Yes. And it reminded me of a story from my very first year of teaching preschool. I had sub 2-year-olds. So it was like 18 to 24-month-olds. And it was just 5 because that's how many you can deal with at one time. Because it's bananas. At the end of that year, I was like, oh, I found out that like this job is my passion. And also we can't have actual toddlers. We need proper 2-year-olds, please, forever. And my boss was like, you got it. But I had this one little baby because she was a proper baby, 19 months old. But she would be, when she got mad at me, she couldn't say my name. So there was no Miss Layne about it. It was Layne.
I love that.
Layne, hold you is what she would say. Hold you. And then she would just stand there.
That's what my kids say.
That's so cute.
Hold you. I love that.
And she would get really mad at me. I would tell her no. And she'd be like, oh, Layne, not friends anymore. And it was always that like long anymore. And then she would get mad at me so many times a day that she would just abbreviate it. So I'd be like, no, sorry, buddy, we're not going to do that right now. And she'd be like, anymore. And then she would run to a corner and just like turn away from me.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. And also she had a super best friend in that classroom who her name was Savannah, and he used to call her Fanana. And she would get really offended. And she would be like, my name, no Fanana. My name, Samena. She would like scream it at him. My name's Samena.
I love that.
I
wonder how old Savannah is now. Well, you must know.
Maybe 9 or 10.
Wow, weird.
She's probably 10.
It's got to be so weird.
She's probably like in 4th or 5th grade.
Have you seen any photos? Like, do you follow the family at all?
Facebook. Some of those families are on Facebook, but I just like never.
Yeah.
We could go look, but
yeah,
she's proper. I saw her when she was 7, and she was real shy about it. But her mom was the best.
Weird? That's a weird thing. Like, they're so bonded to you when they're little, but then they kind of forget. When Eloise went back and saw her little preschool teacher, she was like that. She was really shy. But then we all know that everyone has known each other so well. But then by the end of their little time together, they played and they exchanged gifts, and it was very sweet. Then they were like super snuggly and sweet and lovey. And obviously Eloise still didn't remember her, but there was something familiar and safe about her.
Sometimes I think it's just a little too much. It's a feeling of like.
And everybody's like, look. She's like, I don't know.
All the grown-ups are too excited. And you do have like sense memories, you know, those like implicit back memories, but you don't have any language to go get it.
Sure.
So it's not like you can be like, oh, in my filing system, I'm going to go find this person's face and remember.
Yes.
But I do have this feeling, and everybody else knows that something important has happened.
And then all eyes are on them to see like, how are you going to act in front of this stranger
it's
friend that we
love
love
in the world?
That's so true. It's a great point. Yeah. So cool.
Yeah. She also was really mad at me when I got engaged, even though she was like 5 years old at that point. Yeah. She tried to take my ring off.
She's like, how dare you?
Hates Connor.
That's so cute. As if she's been replaced.
Yeah.
I am the one you love.
I used to rock her to sleep every single day for nap time, like in my arms.
What a love.
Just rub her little forehead with my finger.
That's so sweet. No wonder her mom loved you so much.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It was nice.
You were important.
Yeah.
You are important.
Loved that family so very much.
That's so sweet. So, Layne, what are we talking about today?
Anymore. So here's the thing. We are not going to talk about the super gnarly things that are in the news right now.
Yeah.
And we are not going to get into why.
Yeah.
We are not going to talk about that. We are just not going to.
Yeah.
And we're going to let everybody make their own choices about that. But what we are going to talk about is how to talk to your children about things that are super gnarly. And we've talked about doing this topic for a long time, and we've kind of done little chunks as we've talked about things that are challenging. We talked about divorce one time, and we talked about bad guys and some scary things like that, and like how to handle some of these things with your kids. But we're going to take some time today to honestly kind of like muddle our way through a discussion about how you address really big, intense things with children. And I do have some notes here, but I also, I thought about like writing out specific scripts and being like very prepared. And then I just felt like the more useful thing to do would be to like let you guys all, like I want to give you scripts and I want to say like, okay, let's figure out how would I say this to this child? But I think I'd rather leave in the me figuring it out so that everybody can like be together in how improvisational and challenging it is.
Yeah. And also, as with every episode, we tell you, we do lead a Zoom call once a month where you guys can come and you can bring your real situations and we'd be happy to walk with you to figure out like, hey, this is what we're going through, or this is what I'm thinking about. This is what's breaking my heart right now.
Yeah.
Could you really help me to talk to my child? This is what my child's like. And we could go there with you. It's pretty hard when we're talking to a big, broad audience, listeners in different countries, listeners with different backgrounds. And we realize too, we're talking to fellow women, fellow people whose hearts are broken over really big things right now.
Yeah.
So we're not getting into specifics, and that's okay. But we do want you to know that we really care about you and we really ache with you and ache with those who are suffering right now. We just feel like it's appropriate to give you kind of our hearts on this. I mean, for me, there's some experience now with what I am saying to my children, what I have said to my kids in the past years as hard things have happened. And then just like, here's what we think. And we'd love to hear from you. If you can't join a call, maybe you message us or email us or respond in some capacity so we can know, what do you think? What are you doing that's working?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another episode with like genuine tenderness. We just spent so long talking before this, just as friends, of like, what do we think about all of this? And how do you make sense of things that don't make sense? And none of what we are facing in this world, whether it's personal health scares and relationship challenges, or like the big political, painful, awful, nightmarish things happening out there, none of it is easy and simple and like, well, obviously you just say this and that's the solution. It's not like that. There's a lot of grays and a lot of, I don't know, you are a person and the people you are raising are people, right? Yeah. And they have unique personalities and they have unique ages and they are facing very specific things right now. And so everything we bring to you is going to be filtered through you, wise, wonderful parent.
Yeah.
And then you will do your very best and it will be enough. And even if you start to communicate something and you fumble, like, perfect, welcome to the club.
Yeah.
We figure out what to do and our kids they're fine. They're okay with that. So anyway, that's
That's beautiful.
Here we go.
That's beautiful. Here we go. So there's kind of a spectrum, I would say, in the way that people think about giving information to children. And the two ends of it, both are not going to work well.
Okay.
And one of the sides is hiding. There's a real impulse in some adults to want to just like hide all negativity from children, whether that's like something in the parent's own life of like, oh, there's pain, but like I'm going to wipe away these tears and plaster on this little smile when the child comes in so that they don't know that anything's ever wrong. And they already know. So this hiding things from them, it leaves them in this space of kind of scary unknownness, left to fill in the emptiness with their own ideas. And then on the way other side are people who are like kind of casual, sort of unconsidered oversharing that can happen, you know, just talking about whatever while the kids are underfoot or playing. You know, we sent them away from the table, but they're right in there, and you're just talking
or the
about
news
things.
is on,
or the
and
news
the news is
is
just on, and it's on, and oh, that was a graphic something. Well, they're kids. This is their world.
AM radio.
This is
my time to learn about things. And like your children are in the back seat, and
that's a great point.
They know. They heard you. They want to know. Like, you are the reference for what the world is like. You're the keeper of information. All the most interesting things that are happening in adult lives, and they know. And they heard you.
You're their protector as well. They're almost like when you're on an airplane and you hitting turbulence and you look to the flight attendants to be like, what's their face doing? You know, if they're panicked, you're panicked. If they're fine, you're like, well, this is nothing. Kids are doing the same. They're looking at us and they're just wondering like, what's going on? And even if we're worked up, if we're communicating to them like, mom's feeling sad over some things that are very sad. We're going to do this. We're going to be okay. And you're safe. And like, everything's okay. Mom's feeling this thing. Then you're like, oh, okay. All right.
Yep. Yeah. That's context. What you're describing is
exactly.
context.
Yeah, you're right.
So if you're over
jumping
here,
ahead.
No, you're perfect. You're perfect. You're perfect. Jessica, you're so perfect. I just think you're so perfect. If you're over here on this other side of this like unconsidered way of being,
where they're just receiving information without context.
Yes, it's almost like shrapnel of information.
That's
or
right.
like just like little pieces kind of flying around, and they're just catching them. They're over here in this like scary to adult space where they're left to make up their own context. And children, they can't make up their own context. So they just take this weird little snippet of information and go away with it and try to reckon with it on their own. In the house where I grew up, there was a really long staircase. It was like just the upstairs. So it was kind of like a duplex where there was like a home on the bottom and a home on the top. And my grandma and my aunts lived in the bottom.
Okay.
And then my nuclear family lived on the top. So you would just like, you come inside straight up some stairs to like our living space. Except that the bathroom was downstairs. So there were always these reasons to be like going up and down these stairs. And the kitchen was kind of like shielded by the stairs, and our little bedroom was at the top. So we could creep out of our little bedroom and then just stay in the top of the stairs where the adults couldn't see us, but we could hear them.
Yeah.
And we did. And we really did. And we learned about all kinds of crazy things. And my family were pastors, and people would come over with their heavy things, or intense things would happen in the church community, and other leaders would come over and like just have these discussions. And I just listened to all of it. I just got out of bed and listened to all of it. And that's nobody's fault. That was a sneaky thing. But they like, just to say, some of your children want to know, and they want to be a part, and they're so curious, and it all is sort of charged, and there is stuff you're not allowed to know about when you're little, and that makes it more interesting. And so there can be this version of kids just like carrying around these really heavy adult nonsense.
That's right.
And just words that don't belong to them, that are not embedded in context. We've spoken in several conversations, probably one of the themes.
It's worth saying. I've been thinking about it a lot. I know what you're about to say. Yeah.
Yeah. It's from psychotherapist Dan Siegel, who wrote a great book called The Whole Brain Child, among many other things. And he says that what a child needs is not to like have a perfect experience of their life, but what they really need is, for whatever their real experiences are, they need an adult who loves them to provide a coherent narrative. If we have a coherent narrative around our experiences, we can process that well through our brain and our emotional system. And so even if something really bad happens, we're actually going to be a lot more able to like move through it without it creating trauma or getting stuck or, just like doing anything weird. It can just be hard, like a hard thing that you go through pretty smoothly if there's an adult there who's like lovingly able to be with you and help you build some sense around what's happening.
Yeah. I've heard from a few people who I really admire their family structure, this kind of philosophy that like your kids are going to filter what they learn through what you have taught them about it. And they often are going to refer back to the first thing they learned about a thing, if that makes sense. So like the first person who tells them about sex, then they filter a lot through that first understanding. And so basically these people were saying like as much as possible with wisdom, obviously, and timing, like appropriate timing, because you don't need to like burst into your kindergarten's bedroom to teach them about something just so that you make sure you were the first person who taught them about the thing. But for example, I have a third grader. Eloise is in third grade. Wow. So I knew that in her classroom, people are going to be talking about some certain things going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So then, okay, well, I would like to be the first person who introduces her to some of the stuff going on in the world. Yeah. So I'm not choosing to teach her about topics just to teach her. I'm actually looking like, okay, so the news is doing this. I can see some other parents on social media posting certain things like this. So very logically, kids, even if their parents haven't told them things, the natural thing is they get together and they chat and then they create their own ideas and come back and report back that, what's going on. So yeah, that's important. And then I remember, we were young when things like 9/11 happened. 9/11 I'll use as an example because I remember later learning that a family, like the parents sat their kids down and was like, this is what has happened. You're going to start to see images probably, even if we walk by a store on the news, something might play of these airplanes and these buildings. And I was older when I heard how this family did it, but I remember thinking like, that's a pretty cool way. I mean, some of us didn't get that luxury as some of us were in school and it just happened. I was at school. Yeah. And I walked into a thing and all the news was on all the screens. So everyone was kind of finding out what was going on at the same time. Yeah. But I did think for me, it kind of was like this little marker of, oh, cool. I like that. Like with my own children, as much as I'm able and as much as their ages are appropriate for whatever information I'm introducing, I'd like to be the one who safely says like, this is what's going on in the world. I love you. This is what you might see. This is what's breaking our hearts right now. For us, prayer is something that we do as a family. So like now we're going to pray. We're going to take this really mixed up, sad energy and put it out for the people who really need the love. I think that that's healthy. And then I also, I guess I'll translate that a little further. Like right now for me, when I get on social media, there's a lot and it's very intense. And then there's pressures of things and I'm not going into too much detail. Basically, there's pressures for me of like, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? What are you going to, and then also I'm a mom raising kids. Like I'm taking it back and I'm doing what anyone else is doing. I'm freaking out inside. And so I started to create a boundary for myself where I will view certain things, certain news channels or accounts that I follow specifically to learn what's happening in the world. I'll view them in moments when immediately after I can journal, I can pray, I can go for a walk and just be so thankful for the life that I have. And for me, the praying piece, I'm not like, this isn't a podcast like you need to pray. For me, what praying does is it gives me something to do with all of that energy. There might also be more steps you can do to help a situation in the world that's devastating. But the contrast is I'm going through my day. I have a random 2 minutes. I'm going to open up an app. I'm going to see something absolutely horrific. I'm going to put the phone down and then I'm going to try and engage with my podcast partner. And then I'm going to try and engage with my kids normally. And I'm going to try and engage with this customer over here as if I didn't just see something absolutely devastating. And that is not, I can't. So for me as Jessica, just person, it didn't work. It wasn't working. So then taking that even further to my children, I'm trying to help at least Eloise, who's my oldest. When you hear heartbreaking information, here's some things you can do immediately that gives you a way to cope with what's happening.
Yeah.
And then as a family, here's what we're going to do. And, I hope that's helpful information. I hope I'm not rambling, but that's relevant at least to this week in my life is how I've been handling certain things going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I think that that's actually a really great place to start is like if there are things that you're going to need to talk to kids about, you need to start with regulating the adult.
That's true.
You need to start with like how am I, what state of being am I going to be when I approach this with my children, which requires you to be assessing your own state of being and taking care of yourself and being considered in how you are doing in the thing. And I think that's a great example of like the macro of the world, but then also like if it's your own life, right? Like if someone is ill, if your family is going through a divorce, if something terrible has happened to you specifically, if you've been the victim of something, it's the same. It's the same thing of like, there are going to need to be times when I'm in this and I need to consider what needs to happen immediately after. And obviously in some of those circumstances, you're not totally in control of like when things come over you, but trying to know like there are times to be processing and to be grieving and to be in it. And then there are times to be trying to function. And I need to think about when those times are going to be, where my children are at those points if I can, if I need to remove myself and then try again with my children later.
That's right.
Just as much as you can know where the edges of this adult self that you are and hold those edges lovingly and tenderly and with some level of composure.
Also, what you said when you're talking about kids needing context, it reminded me of something. I'm going to share it. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But like when I was a kid, there was a period when my parents were divorcing and I had learned about what the middle finger meant. I learned that it was a big bad thing. I was like, oh, don't do this to anyone. And I used to give myself the middle finger. I would like go to the bathroom. It's like sad to bring up because I feel bad for that little girl. Yeah, but like I somehow thought I did that. And it makes me sad for little kids in my life right now who are watching their parents go through a divorce. I bring this up because I've now heard a version of that story from different people. One recently was a woman, she's around our age, who her grandfather passed away after she baked him a cake and she thought she did that to him. And no grown-ups explained what actually happened until she was like older. Yeah. And I think sometimes we err on the side of being quiet around hard things because we think we're protecting our kids. But in the quietness, this kid who is very self-centered, they don't know any other way to be.
Developmentally, appropriately self-centered. Right. They're building a self. They're really focused on it.
That's a great, exactly. So they really are living as if the whole world revolves around them. Yes. So when something very crucial breaks, dies, is lost, there's something goes wrong in a major way without loving, tender context, the kid is left being like, I guess I ruined it. Yes. I guess I ruined this person. I guess I ruined this relationship. And it's emotional because I think I talk to enough moms who are like, but I don't want to tell my kid because I'm already broken about this relationship ending or even one that happened recently was a mother who felt like the kid preferred that they're going through a separation, these two parents. Yeah. And the kid is very attached to the dad right now, which as we know, that's really normal. Kids go through developmental times like where they choose one and they choose the other. They're really, but unfortunately, this mom who's already struggling because she's going through her divorce or separation or whatever, she's like, well, I don't really want to tell the kid. The kid's so attached to the dad anyway. It doesn't really seem like she would care, this kid. And I encourage this woman, and I'm going to encourage any of you. I know that being a parent is so complicated, and we feel all of these different things, personal things as we navigate hard times and broken relationships and health issues and loss of loved ones and sick parents and crazy things going on in the world. But our responsibility as mothers and fathers is to regulate ourselves the way you're describing, so that we can provide the safety and context for the kid. Because as much as your kid might be so stubborn, so independent, so like they don't even like you, like why would I provide context when they prefer the other parent? No, because really what's actually going on inside is that kid is really not sure what is happening and is trying to make sense of this, and might be personalizing some of this into mom doesn't even like me, or I ruined this relationship, and now you know there's so many layers.
Maybe filling in the gaps for themselves because they don't feel the adult coming in to take up the correct amount of space and guide the conversation, so the child's just doing it themselves.
Exactly. Yes, that's it. And so for you walking through the hard time and choosing the side of silence because you think that's what's better, I'm asking you as someone who experienced that, it's not better. It's very confusing and sad. And it's not that it's easy for the parent to bring them into clarity and context, especially when I'm sure all of us, I mean, you're not even a parent and you know it's confusing. Life is confusing. Providing context for someone else when we are confused personally is really challenging. But what a kid needs is to know they are safe, to know they are loved, to know that you are right there with them. If you can give them that and then also help them know, okay, so this hard thing is going on. You're safe. You are loved. I am with you. That's going to change the whole experience, you know?
Absolutely. You've done a magnificent job of like putting forward the why of like, you have to do this and here's why.
Okay.
And your personal experience lines up with like what brain development teaches us about children. Like they will fill in information across the board, right? We talk all the time about the scientists and the studying of life, and they're out there just like trying to figure this all out for themselves. And they're doing that with the emotional atmosphere in the house and in the world and in friend groups and with their cousins and at church and at like soccer and all of that stuff too. It's the same process. So they are going to fill that information in. And if it doesn't come from a trusted source, it's going to come from other kids or they're going to make it up. If you don't speak to them about some of these things, if you leave them in that space, you are leaving them to make it up for themselves. You are choosing to like abdicate the responsibility that belongs to you to make sure that this child knows enough of what they need to move forward in a way that is like strong and healthy, even if it's painful, even if it feels painful. You're not actually saving them from the hurt by hiding them from it. Or by hiding yourself from them, basically.
That's right. Yeah. And in any context, leadership, so like not parenting, I'm just talking like business leadership, nonprofit leadership, silence from the top is perceived as rejection. It's weird. I don't know why we do that, but that is what we do. Talk to anyone who's like, yeah, my boss hasn't really talked to me. And I'm just, I guess I assume like I did something weird. I'm not really sure what, but I'm trying to. And so in some odd way, it happens too with kids to parents. The silence from the top, we sort of personalize, and it's like this rejecting thing takes over, and we're like, okay, well, I guess I did something. Something's wrong.
We're meaning makers and storytellers, even from when we're really tiny, and you want to get in there and help guide that story.
That's right.
Now, what that does not mean is that you need to sit down with your 8-year-old or your 3-year-old and try to talk them through the conflict between Israel and Palestine. You don't need to start at 1948. You don't need to talk about rockets. You don't need to show them anything scary. I don't mean that you need to put all this like big, heavy adult information and particularly details in front of children. You also don't need to be explaining to your children the details of why you're getting divorced or of what's happening in your body if you're sick or, you know, like the minutia, that grainy, sharp minutia of things that adults have to deal with. Mercifully, children don't have to hold those.
That's right.
The edges can be really soft.
And actually, I haven't told my 3 and 4-year-old anything of what's going on in the world. I specifically told my 3rd grader because I now understand from a few years in elementary school that word travels fast in elementary school, whereas in this tiny little preschool, one classroom, these two kids are in the same class. So far, nothing.
Right.
What I do with these little ones is at night when we pray, I also pray for people in the world who are hurting right now. And then if they ask a few questions, I'll give some very toddler-sized answers to what that could mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, just personally, I'm choosing what I communicate based on what I also see coming into their lives.
Yeah. Now, if your family were Jewish and you had if you had family members in Israel, that would be a different situation, or any version of any of this, right? We're just using some examples here.
In our shop here, which Layne already knows this, and you guys, some of you come, there are families who come who have families in both Israel and Palestine right now. So obviously for them, this is a conversation, an ongoing conversation. And if we do a meetup where my kids and their kids are all in the same place, this is very likely going to come up.
Yeah.
And then Sean and I will be navigating conversation with these little guys.
Yeah. So
it's a great point. I love that you brought that up.
Right.
Yeah.
So your contact, your proximity to the challenging thing definitely changes how much your children need to know, how much you personally or other adults in your home are affected, really changes how much your children need to know, because they are just the barometers for emotional temperature everywhere. They know you were crying. They know you guys were fighting. They know, but they don't know what it's about. So acknowledging that that's how they are, you weren't going to tell them the truth, and you're going to be vague. You're going to stay away from these far edges of this spectrum that we laid out earlier. You're not going to hide from them. You are going to tell them the truth, and you're not going to give them these very intense, specific, sharp edges, details. You're going to say something like, I know you can tell that I've been crying today, and I just want to make sure that you know kind of what that's about, because I know that you care about me, and I'm so thankful that you care about me.
It's great.
My heart is really hurting right now. There's some pretty scary stuff happening pretty far away from us, but some people that I really love are feeling really hurt, and I'm really sad about it. So I've been on the phone to them, or I've been chatting with your aunt so that we can help each other out with some of these big, heavy, heavy feelings. And I just want you to know that, like, that's kind of going to be the way it is for a little bit. I'm not sure what's going to happen in this space. It's not something that's going to be in our house or around you, so that's not something you need to worry about. But I just want you to know that there's some tricky stuff going on. So if a lot of the grown-ups in your life are feeling sad or having conversations where their voices get really loud or get really quiet, I want you to know that that's because there's something happening. If you have any questions about that, you can always come find me.
That's right.
What would you like to know? You keep it really soft edges. And we can do a few more of those if that feels helpful on some other notes of things. You want to offer some comfort without decreasing the truthfulness. Something really bad is happening, and it's not going to be not bad. A lot of the time it's not going to be okay. It's just that something really bad has happened. People die. Divorces happen. Terrible, terrible things happen. And while children don't need these super sharp, shiny details, they also don't, we actually just like can't be withdrawing tragedy from their lives. They're going to encounter it. They're going to encounter it. And hopefully it will be at tiny levels. They will lose a teddy bear. They will stub their toe. A friend will move away. These are small levels where they can be experiencing real human tragedy at a manageable level. And sometimes they won't, right? There are children in the world right now whose tragedy level is unbearable and unimaginable, and they're not going to be okay about it. It's not going to be okay. And some of our children will go through things, hopefully nothing ever like this ever for them, but they will go through things that are truly terrible, and that we can't make them not terrible. But we can offer comfort. I'm right here with you, loving you. We can have a warm snack together and hold each other the same way you would comfort an adult. That's awful that that's happening to you. I love you. Can I help you? No. Great. Can I just be by you? Okay. Right? These kinds of comforts, real human comforts that don't say, let me take that away from you. Oh, let me hide that from you. Oh, let me fix it. Because there just isn't a fix for a bunch of stuff. And yet we keep going forward. And it's very painful as adults to have to do that. We hate it. We hate it. I want to take it away. I want to fix it. I want to stop. I don't want to feel these things.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want any children to feel these things, but there's no kind of parenting that can extract the humanity from their experience.
Yeah.
There's just people here in this world where things are really, really fucked up in a bunch of ways.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid.
You have these kids and you're like, I just never want you to suffer. And then kids lose parents and kids, I'm thinking like, we paused to this and I went to the bathroom and I was in there and I was like, man, some moms are trying to promise safety to their kids and they don't actually know if they can offer safety to their kids. And I think part of what we're doing as parents and caregivers is we're teaching these kids, like, you are so loved and you basically, it's like, what I want to promise my kid is you will have me forever. But the reality is, we don't know that. Like, we want that. I for sure want that. I would want to outlive my children. Not really. I like how terrible, but also kind of like
my wrap love yourself around their whole experience and just be able to hold
like
them
my
forever.
Love for them is one where I'm like, I never want you to ever feel without me, because I want to be a source of comfort, right? But then the truth is, for most of our children, there will come a time when they will live life without us, whether we are physically not here or we're just like distant from each other. And so we're also trying to instill within our children a sense that, like, you are safe, you are loved, I am with you. And eventually that transitions into you are with you. And if you have a faith element, there's something. For me, it's like God is with you or love is with you or whatever. There's something with you. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And it's very sad. it's like so important. But as we're teaching these kids how to walk through hard times, we're preparing them to be adults who can still be okay in times when they want to unravel, when they feel like they're falling apart. It's teaching them that, like, when it comes down to it, guys, no one can steal what's going on inside of you, this peace, this, Viktor Frankl, the guy who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, and he was in the Holocaust, and he talks about, like, basically when it came down to it, the final thing that no one could take from him was inside of him. It was his own ability to keep perspective and keep hope alive and keep a sense of meaning. People could cut off every other thing. They could take everything from you. But if you are able to keep hold of that internally, you can survive. And as parents, we're, in the moment where we live, especially with our safety and security, is we're able to say, like, you are safe, you are loved, I am with you. But as some of these things get taken, we're really teaching children, like, you are safe, you are loved. You are safe, you are loved. You are with you. God is with you. You inside of here are creating something no one else can take. But what a process and what consistency of parental love and safety needs to be there over and over again, so that a child develops, like, a pattern of, okay, something terrible, something sad, something traumatic, or just really sucky. Okay, what do I do? Okay, I receive love. I receive comfort. I receive tenderness. I do something to help me be okay. And then over and over, they develop the ability to do that on their own. And then mom's far away. They're at college or wherever, you didn't die. I'm not saying mom's, that's our huge fear. You are healthy and well, but they have now gone on a trip and they are away from you for a time, and they still have the ability to cope and regulate and be all right, because you did such a beautiful job guiding them in that process by regulating yourself, by being honest about hard emotions, by providing safety over and over again. But how complicated. It's all complicated.
But what you're talking about is a very measurable developmental process. Like, we talk about it as they incorporate that. They take you being that. You're right now the outside thing that provides context and comfort so that they can process and, like, feel that warmth. And over time, they take that thing into their body, into their corp, right? They incorporate it, like it comes into their own body. And then they have this internal good mother who is now them.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That they took from you. And to not be there in that process is to leave them to develop some other kind of grown-up inside who guides them as they become the grown-up.
That's right.
So you choosing to be there with the warmth, even if the words are bad, even if you pick words that didn't do it.
You did it wrong.
Like, yes, there are no magic words that whisk away the tragedy. There are some things that are going to be more useful and more understandable for small children, and some things that are going to be like a little bit less understandable. But really, it's the thing of you coming around them with your feelings, saying like, I acknowledge you. You are here. You're real. Life is real. There's no accidental gaslighting in this system where like I try to create a false reality for you to live in and then be like, no, it's the false reality, even though they know that it's not, right? They can feel that. And you're showing them by your presence in the hard thing that the hard thing is not too big, and that the scary feelings are not bigger than you, right? That like you have feelings. Feelings don't just like have you and come at you and press you down, right? You're someone who's like, we exist. There's a self here, you, and a self here, me, and we're experiencing some feelings that are intense. This is what the feelings are like. This is what they're called. This is what we do with these feelings. And so even if your feeling is, I'm actually quite afraid. I've made a lot of choices about what I think is going to keep us as safe as I can. And we're just going to keep living our life inside the thing. And if I find some other things to do to make it better, I'm going to do that too. You don't have to promise them safety. You can say, I'm doing what I can do. I'm thinking about it. I'm on top of it as much as a person can be. I am feeling pretty scared. So what can we do when we feel scared? Let's think about some things, right? We move through these feelings and we do what we can. Your steady presence, even if your honest emotion is in terrible pain or is afraid or is uncertain, there's so much space for I don't know. Oh my gosh. So much space for I don't know. But your presence there with them, this eye to eye and heart to heart thing, that's what they then incorporate and grow into people who are like, okay, I feel scared. I'm going to shape around this shape that I've seen before. I'm going to like take on the form of this present person who knows what my feelings are called, who knows how to look at my life and be able to stand what I see, even if it's hard. Even if it's really hard to look at. Like I don't have to be this person who shields and hides and ducks and tries to pretend. I get to be here. And the big feelings are not going to crush me. And I'm going to move forward.
So much of it sounds like taking care of ourselves as we take care of this little one, and not taking care of the little one at the cost of caring for ourselves. Because if we're doing what we can to be okay, we're going to have our wits about us to communicate appropriately with these little ones. But if we are neglecting our well-being, then we won't have what we need to care for them. Yesterday, I spoke with a lactation consultant who was saying years ago when she had her first baby, there had been infidelity in their marriage during pregnancy, and then a traumatic birth, and then like some really traumatic stuff happened. And she wasn't processing any of it. She wasn't grieving any of it. She basically said her emotions didn't flow anywhere because she was so focused on taking care of her baby. But then her milk production stopped. And now, all these years later and training later, she sees a connection between her stopping the flow of her actual emotions. She believes that her body stopped the flow of the milk that was supposed to come. And I thought that was really cool to just understand that as much as we would like to compartmentalize, like I'm doing horribly, but I'm going to function as if I'm not. It doesn't really work over the long haul. Maybe you can sustain it for a week while you need to power through something, but to really try to parent from that place and live from that place, things won't work as they are supposed to inside of your body. And you will run up against things that, challenges that perhaps would be relieved if we would take care of ourselves, if we would put ourselves in community where we could connect with other people and say, I'm really hurting right now, or talk to a therapist and get some support, or whatever steps we need to do as the adult in the relationship to take care of ourselves. Then when we bring information to our children, we're not kind of accidentally needing them to also be our therapist, be our spouse, be our best friend, be all of these things they cannot possibly be for us. Yep. And some of you were raised in houses where your parents were under supported. And so the relationship they had with you became way too heavy and they didn't mean to, and you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
But if you take care of yourself, mom, dad, whoever's listening, it will be easier to give the child the amount that the child is designed to hold.
Yes.
And you'll feel okay as well.
Yes. Jess, I swear to God, you have the outline that I wrote in your brain.
Perfect.
You're like, perfect.
Everyone just such a team.
We are a team.
Yeah.
Because the one of the things on my list is, and keep the responsibility off of them. Saying, I'm not doing well because something really challenging is happening here.
Yeah.
And therefore you need to. And so hold me. And so take care. And so really help mama. Which comes from such an innocent place of really needing help, really needing the help. But the child is a child, no matter how much help you need. And we want to protect their developmental stage, no matter what is going on in life, as much as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Right? Where you need assistance and support, we need to try and find that somewhere else, so that this child can hear from you like, I know that you know there's a thing happening. This is what it is, in vaguely appropriate language for them. Here's some comfort for you that doesn't turn into a lie. What are your questions? You may always come back with questions, even if you don't have any later. We can talk about this anytime you want. I don't know the answer to that question. What a good question. I don't know. Let me go find out. Or that's a big one. You found one of the big questions in life. Good job, buddy. I don't have an answer for that. Here are some of my thoughts kind of in that space. How does that feel for you? I wish I had an answer for that. That's a tough one. What can we do with our tough feelings?
Yeah, that's great.
And keep the responsibility off of that child.
Yeah.
It's not their responsibility really overtly. Like you need to say, and it's not your fault that we're not going to live in this house anymore. And it's not your fault that some of my feelings are going to be sensitive right now because there's this thing going on. And it's not your fault that this or that person is sick. That really doesn't have anything to do with you. There's not really anything that you need to do here, bud. If you want to, you could probably give dad some extra squeezes because, he's got some big feelings lately. So if you feel like you want to be squeezing him, I think he would love that. Is there anything you want to do for this person who's going through this hard thing? What would feel nice to you, but not?
Yeah.
So I need you to be
totally.
So pull it together, buddy, because it's a messy time. The responsibility is not on them. And as we've now discussed at length, they will take it if you don't draw that line for them.
Yeah. I'll add to that. There's another version that you and I see sometimes in our community, which is when we are going through hard times, we also want to abdicate all boundaries with our kids. Is that the word? Abdicate. Basically well, I wouldn't dare tell the child no, or I wouldn't dare tell the child, I'm not going to make you your third lunch option. And I think we do it almost out of this place of well, we're going through a hard time and so are they. And so therefore they should get 5 sandwich options.
They should stay up all night. They should start sleeping in my bed again.
Yes. And I think I also do this as a person. So when we're saying give them child-size information, give them comfort, and we're not saying basically this, okay, we're going through something hard as a family. So it would be appropriate to say to your kids who are of the right age, and so I really do need you to pick up your dirty clothes. After you take them off, I do need you to pick them up and go put them in the hamper. I know a lot of days I end up doing that for you, even though I've told you to do it. But right now, mom is thinking about this big thing and I don't have the extra energy to follow you around to pick up the dirty clothes that I've told you go in the hamper. Okay, so that's different than the thing of,
So I need you to start making lunches.
Yes,
because I'm too sad to get out of my bed.
Thank you. Exactly. So we are encouraging you to help your kids do the things that they are capable of doing.
Yes.
Don't do everything. And also, we're not speeding them along in their growth process because suddenly we're going through something hard.
Yeah, if you're not watching the video, I've got two arms parallel, right?
Yeah.
You get close to these children. You get snuggled up to them. You come together and you take care of each other. But if you're this adult arm, you don't lean like this on this little child. You don't lean on that child. That child cannot support your weight. Should not support your weight. And actually, let me try again. That child might be able to support your weight. And what a bummer that they might need to.
Yeah.
That's a bummer for them. And it's a bummer for you. It's not the relationship you want to have long term because they're going to have to right size that relationship later in their adult life when they realize that you've been leaning on them this whole entire time. And then you could lose that relationship, right? Like your job is to take care of the edges of these things. Let this kid be kid. You be the adult. You be the adult who's vulnerable. You be the adult who needs extra help and support and lets your kids see you asking for support, using food stamps, calling your mom, telling them, hey, buddy, I'm going to take a few minutes in my room. I'm going to call my sister and I think I'm going to cry. I'm pretty sad. So I'm reaching out to my sister for some help. Want you to know if you hear that sound, that's what that is. I'm taking care of it with this other adult. Whatever. But you keep those relationships nice and clean. And if it's like this hard thing's happening in our family and what do you need and what would help you feel good? And she's like, I want to stay up late and watch a movie with you. You could say, sure, let's do that tonight. Yeah. Tomorrow, we're going to go back to normal bedtime. And if you feel upset about it tomorrow, I'm still going to make you go to bed at normal time. Sure, buddy. Let's snuggle up. Like there is plenty of space here while keeping the like proper flow of adult and child relationships going.
That's right.
It can all be very human.
Yeah. Yeah. And in recent years, I have sister-in-laws who both experienced breast cancer. And there is no doubt that when a parent is sick, the children do experience some version of like growing faster than, developing. It's hard. It's hard and it's scary. And one thing I thought was really beautiful about the way I've seen family do this is allowing other family members, friends, people to jump in to be the support for the family so that it didn't require kids to grow faster. Yeah. Grow might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean? Like skip steps of childhood because mom or dad is unwell.
Right.
So that's not easy. If you are in a location where family's far away, you don't know what to do, you are sick. I know a lot of times we'll see within even just my friend group, like toddler moms, pregnant, on bed rest. How do they take care of their toddler feeling so guilty? Any outside help you can receive, anything that can kind of buffer that so that you are supported and the child is supported, and it's not the leaning that Layne just did with her hands where suddenly mom is looking to this child to do everything because mom can't do what she can normally do. Yeah. It's not easy. Nobody would say that it's easy, but it is really meaningful and important if you guys as a unit can have more support. And like you said, food stamps, there is actually government help. There's local help, churches, a lot of times nonprofits. They are so eager to help moms with children. I mean, families in general. But if you are a mom who's in a dynamic where you are struggling in any capacity, especially here, I don't know everywhere else. Yeah. There are options out there for help. And I say this as someone who has received a lot of help in my motherhood experience. It's important to do that so that you don't end up the way you've described, where like the relationship with the kids ultimately could end because the kid couldn't carry the parent. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What a sad thing. Anyway.
It is a sad thing. Maybe to finish ourselves out, we could do just like some rapid fire. I'll just show you some options of stuff you could say.
Cool.
Perhaps you present me with some opportunities and I'll fumble my way through the words.
Okay.
And maybe that will be helpful as other people fumble their way through.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to give some sad scenarios. Here's the thing. After we do this, I'm going to tell you something really encouraging and you're going to leave being like, I can do this. Everything will be fine. So we're not just here to make you sad. We are here to make you stronger. Yeah. Like you're carrying a lot. We're here to carry some of this with you. Okay.
To comfort you without detracting from the truth.
That's right.
Which is that it's a hard time.
That's right. Okay, Layne, my husband and I are going through a divorce. I need to tell my children. Could you help me with that?
Yeah. How old are your children?
My children, elementary schooler and young toddler. Not as messy divorce. Let's start with that.
Okay. Great. So you do it together.
Okay.
You got the two kids together. Because I want the older kid to hear what you're telling the younger kid.
Whoa.
Because you're going to say it the younger kid way.
Oh, got it.
For starters.
Okay.
Sometimes you get weird sibling stuff too. We've talked about kid goes to school and hears different things. But you also like older sibling says things to younger sibling too often. You tell them, I need to talk to you guys about something that's really tricky. And you can let me know at any point if you have any questions or you need me to stop or you want to shift to something else. And so this is what it is. I know that you guys have felt for a long time that things have been really tricky between me and your dad because you guys are here and you're with me and you see things and you're smart and you know, that things have been whatever. And you can say, you know, there's been some fighting, you know, that he had to leave the other day, you know, that like I acknowledge that you guys know that there's some stuff going on. This is a really hard choice that I've had to make. And what it is that your dad and me are not going to be married anymore. We're going to live in two different places. And you guys are still going to see both of us. And you're going to be here a lot. And you're going to be with your dad a lot. And we're both going to work together to make sure that you guys still get taken really good care of. And that you still feel really loved. But it is going to be kind of sad for a while. Because our family's going to change a lot. And that's going to be really sad for me. And I think it's going to be really sad for your dad. And so you guys get to have any kinds of feelings that you have about that. You get to show them to me if you want. You get to keep them to yourself if you want. There's going to be a lot of space for you guys to have whatever feelings you need to have about this. Do you have any questions? How do you feel? Really simple, really vague. And then the invitation of them. They're probably going to say nothing, honestly. It's big. That's really big news.
Yeah.
So then you could tell them a little bit more about what's going to happen to them if they want, where their other parent is going to be, if your house is going to have to change, but you just tell them really vaguely what's going to happen to them and really acknowledging like, this is going to be tricky and maybe it will be super tricky and maybe it'll only be medium. We're going to do our best to have it be like, you know, to work as well as we can, but our family's going to go through something hard together and it might take a while.
That's good.
And this is not your fault.
Yes.
This has nothing to do with you guys. We're actually really happy that we had you guys. It's one of the really special things that came from us being married is that we get to have you and we get to have you. And this just doesn't have anything to do with you. It's actually like a really grown up struggle between the two of us. We just couldn't figure this out for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. That's really good. And in some cases, in elementary schools, they have like a therapist who works at the school. Cool. And often in middle school and high school as well. And so they'll do a thing where if a student is going through something hard, you can tell the school and the therapist checks in on your kid, like comes and brings them and they play a game together and they chat. And so you can also tell your child like, so you know Miss Lisa, who you've actually been meeting with, you know, or you've been playing games with for however long. If you ever need her more during school, if you're feeling something about this, all you have to do is tell your teacher and then she'll arrange for you to go and see her. And so that way you can always have a grown-up if you need grown-up support. You can talk to mom when you're with mom, dad when you're with dad. You can call mom when you're with dad. You can call dad when you're with mom. And when you're at school, you can go talk to your friend, Miss Lisa, or whoever, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool resource that's available if the child's in school.
Yeah. Wherever your children are all day long, you got to tell those grown-ups.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as is reasonable, whether it's divorce or illness in the family or whatever, because your kids are going to feel it and they are going to process it when they're with you and when they're not with you. Yeah. So your preschool teachers know. Just want to let you know that your preschool teachers already know. Yeah. They know who drops off. They know who doesn't. They know what you look like usually. They know when dad's looking bedraggled and sad because he's sad when he drops off. Like they already know. So giving them real information can just enable them to like more specifically
care for the
be
child.
A partner with you as your family goes through stuff or your kid goes through stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you want to do another one?
Yeah. One of the parents is very sick and is going to undergo some chemo, you know, something like for a while.
So same deal. You keep the little ones and the big ones together so everybody gets the same information. And then you follow up with the older later.
Okay. That makes sense.
To say like, hey, buddy, I did that in a pretty broad kind of way because I think that was the good information for your little brother, little sister. I feel like that's about what they can handle. Is there anything that you want to talk about between you and me It's fine if there isn't. Also later, at any point, you can come bring me questions about this. I'm not scared of your questions is what you're trying to say. You want to be the person that they come to.
That's good.
So again, everybody together, and you just tell them, hey, you guys, we got something really, really tricky to talk about. And this is going to be kind of a tough one. So let me know if you need any snuggles at any point or if you need a break. We got some pretty intense news today. And it's that your dad is really sick. And we're hopeful that he's going to be okay. And the doctors are going to work really hard. There's going to be a whole team of people, including our family, to see if we can help him become okay again. That's the goal. We don't know how this is going to go. It's actually pretty serious. So we're all going to work together as a family and with his doctors to get him really, really good help for this thing that he's going to go through. Now, I know that he's been feeling sick. I know you've been noticing that it's been like this. Same thing.
Yeah,
like we want to really acknowledge, like you guys are here and you're real and you've already been in this. So you know. And it's going to probably get a little bit more. There's a really particular kind of medicine that really helps with this kind of sickness, but it's actually really hard for your body to like take that medicine. So there's kind of two things happening at once. One is that the medicine is taking care of the sickness, and the other is that the medicine is in a kind of a different way, making him feel really tired, and his body might change a lot. You might see some really different changes in him, and a lot of my attention is going to go to helping take care of him. Our schedule is going to change a bunch because we're going to have to drive a lot of different ways. So we're making a plan to get a lot of help from all the people that we know to try and make this pretty smooth. But you guys might have to have different people kind of pick you up and take you home from school. And we're going to need to stay in a conversation together as a family as this goes on about what you guys need. But we're looking out for you. And we're all going to give Dad lots of love while he goes through this tricky thing. And it's not a kind of sickness that can spread to you guys. It's actually just going to be him. This is inside his own body. So that's not something you need to worry about. And we're just going to, it's not your fault. Yeah. There's nothing that anybody did that you guys did or that I did or that he did to make him get sick. It's just actually a really hard thing. Once in a while, really tough things happen in life.
Yeah.
And so when tough things happen in life, we come together and I snuggle you and I'm here for you and your dad's here for you. He might need a little bit of extra space from his physical body because he's going to be pretty uncomfortable. So we might need him, change our snuggle schedule a little bit, some stuff like that. But just like here are vague, soft, truthful terms. I'm here to comfort you, but I'm not going to tell you that he's going to be okay or that I know what's going to happen. I am going to tell you what we're going to do and what we're trying for.
Yeah. And what we're believing for. We're going to believe this and we're going to imagine him getting better. And
we know that with this kind of sickness, when everybody around believes that we're going to get better, it can really help that person.
That's right.
So that's where we're going to be.
That's beautiful.
But you're going to have all kinds of feelings. We're going to be in this for a while. So you're going to have all kinds of different feelings over that time. And I would love to hear about them. And you can bring me questions now or later. And then you check in with the older one probably later, probably after bedtime when they've had a second to be like, hey, buddy, that was a tough one.
Yeah, that's really good.
How you doing?
Yeah, amazing. Okay, and then the last one that I know has now several moms within our community have experienced the loss of their own parent. So grandma or grandpa has passed away. Yeah. And so they're very sad. The parent, mom is very sad. Yeah. And now she's telling little one about it.
Yeah, that's a good one. I almost wonder if it could help for the other parent to advocate a little bit for that one. Just
that's
to be
a good
like,
way. Yeah.
Hey, buddy, I'm picking you up from school today because I just want to quickly chat with you about something. When you get home, your mama's going to be pretty sad. She's okay and everything's okay. But you know how your mama has a mama and it's your grandma? At the end of our life is over. Yeah. And your grandma, her life is over. Yeah. And she died today. Yeah. And we're not going to get to see her anymore. And that's sad for us. And let's talk about that in a second. But today it's really, really sad for your mom because they really love each other. And she's got to have her mom her whole entire life. And now her mom's not going to be here anymore. And she's going to have to just feel her love and remember her memories and get to talk to other people about her mom, but she's not going to get to see her anymore. So today she's just really sad. And that's not your fault and it's not my fault. This is just what happens sometimes. And you don't have to do anything about it. I just want you to know that your mom is pretty sad and she might not be as available to help us out with some stuff for the next couple days. We're going to give her a little space to be pretty sad. And I would love to be a lot more helpful to you while we just let your mom be kind of whatever her feelings are, because you never really know how it's going to be when tough stuff like this happens.
It's so good. And then what if the kid is like older elementary school and very connected to the grandma or grandpa? Because then it's two sadnesses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so sad.
It's so sad.
Oh, life is so sad. I think it's very similar.
Yeah, it's just, I'm so sorry.
You might take them home where they're cozy and they can just like be able to run away and be upset if they need to in their own space. Yeah. But hey, buddy, I have to give you some pretty bad news. Is now an okay time? Okay. You know, you know how at the end of your life is over today. That's what happened to your grandma. You know, she's been kind of sick, or, you know, she's very old. She's lived a really long life, or she didn't. Yeah. You know, like this thing happened today and your grandma died, and we're all really sad about that. And I just want to tell it to you very clearly, so that you know, and so that we can talk it through. And I want to be here for you in your feelings about that. It's going to be pretty sad. We're not going to be able to see her anymore.
And she loved you so much.
She loved you so much. And I know that she loved all the time that you guys got to spend together. And notice, in none of this am I telling you that you're going to see them again, or that something's going to change, or they're going to come back. I'm not lying about where they are or offering a new story. It's really focused on the right now experience. And obviously people come from all kinds of different ideas about what happens after you die.
True. Yeah, it'll be specific to your worldview, but you're telling them right now what's going on, what's real right now.
Yeah, respectfully, it doesn't hugely matter to their today experience what you think is going to happen after their life. And so if you want to talk about afterlives and things with them, that's cool. But I would really encourage you to start with their like lived current experience.
Sure, that's a good
because
point.
that is what they're going to have to experience day to day. And perhaps you have a hope of seeing your loved ones again, and perhaps you don't. But for their life here, they are not going to see that person anymore.
Sure.
And that part gets to be sad kind of no matter what you think is going to happen later.
Yeah. I've heard of families doing something where it usually starts like while the person's alive, though, of like, every time I see a hummingbird, I think of this person and our love relationship. And so that can be a really sweet one if the child is very connected to someone who's not going to be around, is like, okay, and so now whenever we see this butterfly, this color butterfly, like let's think of that person and like, oh my gosh, how sweet. And so of course this also is a worldview thing, because to some people they'll be like, oh, they're looking down on us, or they're whatever, but something that connects the now to the what it was before, and this sense of meaning. I mean, it's not new to us that we would feel connected to generations before us. Like that's everywhere.
And what you're describing very literally is just passing back and forth love and memories about that person between the two people who are still here.
Yeah. And makes you feel connected.
Yeah. That certainly is very real and very powerful and very universal.
Yeah, it's so important.
That like we get to love them together and to be loved by the memory of them between us.
That's right. We can end. This reminds me of, okay, so years ago, someone died, someone passed away, and I don't remember exactly how this played out, but somehow it got explained to Eloise that like they're with God. Okay. So Eloise and I are on a bus, we're going somewhere random, and my phone died, and she's just kind of sitting quietly, and then she goes, Mom, what does God do with all the phones? And I was like, what, baby? She's like, died? She's like I guess he just sends them back, but is that because he has so many? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, because your phone dies, but then it comes back to life. But the people don't. Like, they're still there. She's like,
so practical.
She's just sitting there imagining God with like a bunch of people and a bunch of phones, and I guess like more phones than people.
He's like, I don't need this one.
I don't need the phone. I'll keep the people. These are good. Yeah. And so it was it was like really funny and cute. And I explained it to her. And it just is helpful to understand that our kids are really trying their best to make sense of grown-up conversations. But a lot is weird and confusing. And we use the same word for many things. Right. So-and-so died and so did my phone, all in the same day. But this one's really sad and this one's a quick fix. Like, that's weird. Yeah. But yeah, it is all just like us doing our best and trying to make sense. And thank goodness when a kid feels safe and loved, they will come back with questions or they will come back with enough conversation that helps you understand what they are thinking. Yep. And then you can continue on with giving them context and clarity around what's happening. Yeah. We live in this really complex existence where on the very same day, wonderful, beautiful things are happening while really sad, scary, confusing things are happening. And we're trying to make sense of it in our own minds. And bless you as you try to make sense of it with your kids. It's not easy. You can do it. And this was really helpful. Yeah. It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's really hard. But you do get to be really human about it, and they do get to be part of it. And they're not really that fragile. They just want to be with you in it.
Yeah. And what I was thinking as you were talking is like some of the most incredible people in life, in the world, people we look up to who are just really amazing, but also probably in your own personal circle, have gone through hard stuff. It builds character and beauty and perspective and love. And I find that very empathetic people tend to be people who know what it's like to be hurt and receive support. And so you don't need to walk around afraid that your child will experience pain. That's not real, for one. They will experience pain as you do. And you do a great job experiencing pain and moving through it. But I think just the perspective of anything we go through, it has the ability or capacity to shape us into a more beautiful version of what we are. And the same is for our children. And the resilience factor is true. The courage that we experience as we go through hard things, like all of that is true. It's not to downplay pain. Of course, pain is awful and we don't want it. But we can exhale a little bit and be like, okay, yeah, we're going through something really awful. And beauty can come from this. And there will be beauty and there will be hope and there will be goodness on the other side of whatever we're going through. And so we're just going to keep going. You're doing great.
You're doing great. Take care of yourselves out there. We're super available if you need us. Specifically.
We are. Yeah, way too available.
Way too available.
We like you way too much. Eat a snack, drink water, take a nap, take care of yourself. We love you and we will see you soon. Thanks for being here. Bye.